We'll now hear comments from the press. The Tribune, in its editorial titled Saudi Crown Prince's Visit, writes, "The times have changed. Till recently, Saudi Arabia would go along with vitriolic Pakistani resolutions on Kashmir at the Organization of Islamic Cooperation (OIC). Visiting Saudi Arabian Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman's commiserations over the Pulwama attack fell short of expectations. The prince did not mention Pakistan, leave alone indicting it for cross-border terror like the Americans and the British usually do. Some renitence is understandable. Pakistan Army serves as Riyadh's Praetorian Guard. There are 20 lakh Pakistanis in Saudi Arabia, and for decades, the US-Saudi-Pakistan Troika has acted in close concert to superimpose its foreign policy on the region. Nor do the Saudis have very clean hands, having involved themselves in backing non-state actors from Afghanistan to Syria. Despite these constraints, India's success in breaking into the Saudi security calculus is laudable from Afghanistan to Syria for real-time intelligence sharing, which was recently in evidence when Riyadh deported half a dozen Lashkar-e-Taiba suspects, along with the prospects of a partnership in maritime security that matches with India's desire to keep a military eye on its sea lanes of communication, carrying bulk of its energy supplies. But more important is the move towards erecting formal structures for interaction on anti-terrorism and investment. The Asian Age, in its editorial titled A Warning for Anil Ambani, says, the Supreme Court has dealt punctiliously with the issue of Reliance Communications and two associate companies and not paying Swedish giant Ericsson, which operated the communications network for 6 years from 2013 for Arcom, which has gone under. The court had earlier shown the way in the Sahara Group's case by keeping its head honcho Subrata Roy in jail for an extended period until he met some of his obligations by the sale of real estate assets. The point is, however big an industry and the scale of its problems even collapse in competitive market conditions, it must honor its contracts and business obligations and not feel obliged to do so just because foreign partners or contractors are involved. India's image as a business destination tends to get sullied by the reluctance of major industrialists when it comes to accountability. The Times of India, in its editorial title, Keep China Out, writes, field trials in India for the rollout of 5G mobile networks, the fifth-generation cellular wireless, are expected to start soon. One of the participants is expected to be Chinese telecom giant Huawei. The US government has blocked Huawei's participation in its country and has worked on persuading other governments to do the same. This is due to security concerns, as no one really believes that an arm's-length relationship between a Chinese company and the Chinese government is possible. China has engaged in cyber espionage, which imparts salience to the effort to block Huawei. 5G is not just a conventional upgrade. Its real potential lies in being the infrastructure backbone for the Internet of Things (IoT), a framework where everyday devices will connect to the internet. Simply put, it'll see a humongous amount of data generation which will run critical systems. Given this context, the security dimension cannot be glossed over. Huawei has in the past triggered disquiet among security agencies in India. But what worked in its favor was its ability to deliver at a relatively lower cost. The Hindustan Times, in its editorial title, Socialism Has Returned to US Politics, says, Bernie Sanders has joined an already crowded Democratic presidential race. Mr. Sanders was the face of the left-wing populist outrage that was mirrored on the Republican side by the ultimately successful insurgent candidacy of Donald Trump. Mr. Sanders has a number of drawbacks this time around. One is his age. He is a quarter of a century older than the average historical age of an elected United States president from his Democratic Party. He also happens to be non-Christian. But what President Trump will like most about him is that Mr. Sanders describes himself as a democratic socialist, as do a number of other leaders from his party. This is no accident. For the first time in decades, polls show that a majority of Democrats have faith in socialism over capitalism. In a throwback to the 19th century, socialism has returned to US politics, and it is young Americans who see nothing wrong with the world. These were the comments from the press, presented to you by the News Services Division of All India Radio.
This broadcast came to you from the Delhi station of All India Radio. And now we have for you the program summary for today and tomorrow on Rajdhani channel and in the Press channel.
This is All